Good evening everybody and welcome to our Tuesday night theory workshop here at Direct Drive Hub. I hope you all had a lovely bank holiday weekend. I know I did. I was away for the weekend, absolutely loving the weather. So hopefully it will last and for a bit longer for us, but anyway, we never know. Right, okay, if you remember last week at the end of the video that we done, we asked you 3 questions. So I'm just going to quickly run through those questions with you now and just give you the answers. So question 1 was, okay, if we were travelling at 40 miles an hour on a wet road, what would be our stopping distance? So knowing, okay, if we're travelling on a wet road, our stopping distance is going to be doubled from what it would on a dry road. So our stopping distance would be 72 metres, 238 feet, or if we're going to look at it car lengths, it's 18 car lengths. Okay. Question 2 was, okay, if we had a lorry driver that was driving a lorry in England and Wales, and that lorry exceeded the weight limit of 7.5 tonnes, and they were driving on a single carriageway road, what would be their maximum speed limit? So the maximum speed limit for that lorry would be 50 miles an hour. And the third question was asking you about braking distance. So if we were travelling on if we were travelling at 50 miles an hour, what would our braking distance be at 50 miles an hour? Our braking distance would be 38 metres or 125 feet. Alrighty, so looking on to tonight's workshop, we're going to have a look at some lane discipline and road positioning. I'm going to try and keep this simple because there is a lot of areas, okay, we can go into with this, and it's quite an easy topic again to kind of get lost into. So I'm just trying to keep it basic, keep it simple, to start to give you an idea of looking at this. Road positioning, lane discipline is a really important part, okay, of our driving skills, making sure that we're getting in the right position or into the right lane in good time, not leaving it last minute, because actually positioning is a good communication skill to other road users, so they know what you're intending to do. I will go more into communication with other road users in a later workshop video, but it is a communication skill, and leaving things last minute can result in causing us and other road users problem, could result in us not being able to take or go in the direction we want to go in, or causing another road user to suddenly have to brake or swerve to avoid us because we've swapped lane or something last minute. So it is important that we plan our drive ahead, okay, we recognise what lane or what road position we need to be in good time. Alright, so we're going to keep us and everyone else around us safe, and as I said, okay, let people know what we're doing. So planning is part of it, okay, knowing where you're going to be going, and I know nowadays SatNav, okay, plays a common role for drivers, and it's obviously, as we know, it's part of the driving test now. But even, okay, if SatNav is giving us directions or somebody else in the car is giving us directions, we still need to kind of look at our road signs and look at our road markings so we know where we're going, what lane to be in, etc. So, you know, it's planning out. So if we have a look at the highway code, or you can go to know your traffic signs, but again, even in the highway code, if we turn to the back, okay, we can see that we've got a number of road signs here, okay, telling us about direction at junctions, whether it's a roundabout or whatever. So again, if we know which direction we're going because we're heading for a particular place, we need to now start to think about where we need to position or what lane we need to get into to be able to take that turning. So this is what it's really all about, okay, is good planning skills, okay, making good early decisions. So the general rule of thumb, okay, if it's a quieter road, we're not always going to get road markings, so sometimes we will see no lanes or no road markings at all. So the general rule of thumb then is if we're turning left, we're going to keep our position to the left to turn left, or if we're taking the road ahead, again we're going to keep our position to the left to take the road ahead. And if we're going to be turning right, then we're going to be positioning, okay, what we call just left of the centre line, a right-hand position in on our side of the road to be turning right. The same with even if we have lanes, okay, so sometimes we may have lanes, but again, there's no road markings or road signs determining what the lanes are for what direction they're for. So if that's the case, we would apply the same rule. Left-hand lane for turning left, left-hand lane for road ahead, and right-hand lane for turning right. Okay, so that is a good rule of thumb to always use when you see no road signs, you see no road markings. Now, when we get to busier areas and we're driving in busy areas, that is not always going to be the case. Now, if it's other than that, what we just spoke about, it will be road marked down. Okay, we will see road markings, arrows, okay, on the road, and also possibly road signs showing us, okay, the direction of the lanes. All right, and we need to pick that up. It is really important that we are using the correct lane for the direction we intend to go in. So it is important to pick that up and get into that lane as early as you possibly can. That generally causes problems, okay, is when you're changing lane or changing road position at the last minute. It can cause danger to you and other road users because obviously they're not expecting that sudden lane change. So it's all about planning skills, identifying the position or the lane that you want in very early good time, and making sure that you're getting into that position or into that lane in good time, so it's not last minute. We should not be causing other road users slow down or swerve because we're altering our road position or lane. Okay, so we're going to get this, okay, really approaching any kind of junctions. I've got a few little drawings up on the board here. I hope you can see them. But again, whether we're dealing with a T-junction, a crossroad, a roundabout, okay, we're going to get the lanes, or we're going to get our position in. And what you've got to remember about position as well, it is a form of a signal. It is telling other road users what you're intending to do, where you're intending to go. So, you know, getting that position in early is going to be helpful to others so they can plan what they need to do around you. So let's just start off, okay, with a T-junction, a basic T-junction, all right? If we're turning left at this T-junction, okay, we want to keep our position to the left, and we also want to be following the curb round, okay, so we're not coming on it square on, so we're coming round, and obviously if we need to, stopping behind the giveaway line to give way to traffic there. So when we're coming out of that junction, okay, we're clearly coming into our side of the road. The problem is if we kind of don't get that steering on, okay, before the giveaway line, and we're coming more square onto the junction, it may be that when you come out of here, okay, you're actually coming out wide and it's taking you over the centre of the road that you're turning onto, which potentially is going to cause you an oncoming traffic in that direction danger because you're going onto their side of the road. So that road position is going to help you come out and take a much better position onto your side. So obviously if we're turning right, then we're going to take this left to centre position. Okay, so we're keeping ourselves left to centre. And when we're coming out of that junction, okay, we don't want to get our steering on too early because we want to make sure that we're coming out and clearly coming into our side of the road. What we're not kind of doing is steering early where we're cutting across, okay, and we're on this side of the road too early. So you're probably finding, okay, that you may be coming out to this point here, halfway of that lane, okay, before you put your steering on. That will depend on the width of the road. Okay, the wider this road is, the further you will need to come out before you put your steering on. If it's quite a small road, quite a narrow road, then you might not need to come out, okay, as far. Crossroads, okay, so couple of, okay, on our first workshop, okay, we looked at control crossroads. What we got here, okay, is a marked crossroad. So we've got the two minor roads and the major road flowing through. So really, okay, it's a little bit like a T-junction. If we're turning left, we're going to be doing the same thing, getting that steering on, following the curb round, so we get a good position, okay, when we turn left. If we're taking the road ahead, we're going to keep a left position, so we're looking here, and we will then just be taking the road ahead into, okay, our new road. Okay, and if we're turning right, again, the same really as a T-junction. Coming out, getting that steering on, so we're clearly turning into our side of the road. Okay, so sometimes, okay, we can get lanes on approach to the junction, okay, whether looking at this diagram here, now whether this is a T-junction, a crossroad, it doesn't really make any difference. But sometimes, okay, we've got road markings, arrows on the road, okay, telling us, okay, what lane to use for the direction. So if that is the case, we have to obey that. So in this situation, okay, the left-hand lane is for turning left only, and the right-hand lane is for the road ahead and turning right. So as I said, okay, the reason why we might have this, okay, where they're changing the lanes or making us use, in this case, the right-hand lane for taking the road ahead rather than the left-hand lane, is generally for traffic management reasons. So again, if a junction is getting congested, okay, sometimes changing the lanes around, then it can obviously maybe help make traffic flow more freely and easily at that particular junction. So there's many reasons, okay, why it may be a different lane. So again, it's important that we identify, okay, those road markings, and we know that on this occasion, we need to use the right-hand lane for the road ahead. We cannot use the left-hand lane, okay? Quite often as well, okay, sometimes when you're approaching a junction, you may see a road sign, okay, on approach, which will show you that. It will say left-hand lane, left only, right-hand lane, road ahead, and turning right. So you're quite early, okay, get that early on. All right, there. So you've got warning, okay, that it is going to be a different lane and what the lanes are going to be for the direction, okay, that you're going to, okay, be taking. Okay, so coming up, okay, roundabouts. I know that roundabouts, okay, sometimes, okay, really confuse people, but it's the same thing, okay, is planning ahead, okay. I think the thing with roundabouts is, on approach to the roundabout, is know where you're going, know what exit you are going to be taking at that roundabout, and again, on approach, get your position in nice and early. Alright, so the same rule applies to what we were just talking about there. If we're turning left, we're going to keep a left-hand position, road ahead, a left-hand position, turning right, okay, a left of centre position, a right-hand position. And it is important that, okay, that we're keeping, okay, our lane discipline, so we're not cutting across, okay, on the roundabout. Sometimes, again, okay, on the roundabout, we may have lanes, so again, we need to look out for the road markings and the road signs, showing us, okay, what lane we need to be in for the direction, okay, that we're going. If there isn't any, we then just stick to the rule, okay, that we spoke about. If we're on two lanes, okay, and we're taking the road ahead, like it's a dual carriageway, and we're in that left-hand lane for road ahead, we must keep it in the left-hand lane and leave on the left-hand lane. If we're using the right-hand lane for road ahead, alright, again, we must enter the inside, the right-hand lane on the roundabout, and then take the right-hand lane off. Okay, so know, okay, your position. If we're turning onto a dual carriageway from a single, okay, lane, generally it's a right-hand position, and we're coming off, we generally should be coming off into the left-hand lane. So that brings in, okay, dual carriageways and also motorways, really. Okay, but when we're driving down a dual carriageway, we should be staying in the left-hand lane, all right, to continue driving. The right-hand lane on a dual carriageway, generally we're using for two reasons. Number one, for overtaking. So if we've got traffic in the left-hand lane that's running slower than needed, I don't know, it might be, for example, it's a 70 mile an hour dual carriageway, but traffic's only driving at 50. It might be a larger vehicle. We spoke about different vehicles, okay, having to drive at different speeds. So it might be a different kind of vehicle that has to drive slower. So therefore, okay, you know, you can do 70, it's safe. We can then use the right-hand lane to overtake that vehicle. But the same thing, okay, there is when thinking about overtaking and changing the lane, do it in good time. Don't get right up behind the vehicle, okay, and then suddenly pull out. Do it in good time, okay. It also gives warning to others that you're going to do it. The other reason for using the right hand lane on a dual carriageway is maybe you're intending to turn right. Maybe there's a roundabout coming up or there's a right turn coming up, so you intend to turn right. So you need to get yourself into that right hand lane, again in good time, nice and early. If there's no reason, okay, and the left hand lane is nice and clear and you're intending to carry on straight, then obviously you should be staying in that left hand lane, or if you're turning onto a dual carriageway, you should be turning on to that dual carriageway in the left hand lane, unless you have a reason to come in and turn on in the right hand lane because you see slow moving traffic perhaps in the left hand lane, or you know you intend to turn right very shortly, okay, after when you've entered the dual carriageway. So it is knowing that and thinking about that. So it's getting, okay, the lanes and getting your lanes right. And the thing is, okay, guys, we all get into a wrong lane from time to time, you know. All right, when we're driving in areas that we know and we're familiar with, we know maybe the road layout, we are familiar with the lanes, so again, we know, but, you know, we're always going to find ourselves driving in areas that we don't know. So again, you can kind of apply these rules that we've spoken about to help you plan, okay, your position and the lane that you're going to go into. But it is easy, okay, to find yourself in a wrong lane. All right, we've all done it, and I'm likely to do it again. I think the main thing to think about here is if you find yourself in a wrong lane, number one, don't panic. The last thing you want to do, okay, is take any sudden action that is going to endanger yourself and endanger others. So if you find yourself in the wrong lane, okay, and you haven't got time to change lane, it's really busy, just stay in the lane that you're in and go in the direction that that lane is taking you. So if that lane is taking you left or road ahead or whatever, you know, check your mirrors, signal left, go left, and then you can find somewhere safe to turn around and get back on, okay, the route you're going. Don't just change lane. If you realize, okay, you're in the wrong lane, okay, in good time, and you've checked your mirrors and there's no traffic around and you can see it's safe, then fine, safely get yourself into the correct lane. But never just jump the lane without checking it's safe first, all right? And if you haven't got time to make the checks, don't bother changing lane. Just stay in your lane and go with that lane. I see a number of people, okay, who have failed their driving test, okay, for this very reason. And it's understandable, nerves and everything else, okay, and all of a sudden, okay, they're driving along and they realise they're in the wrong lane and panic kind of sets in, and without thinking about it, they suddenly change lane. So you'll remember here, okay, it's not going to be the fact that you was in the wrong lane that's caused you to fail your driving test. It's the fact that you've changed lane without checking it safe first, or you've actually affected another road user. You've caused them to slow down, you've caused them to swerve because you've made that change. If you had stayed in the lane you was in and gone in the direction that lane was taking you safely and correctly, that would not have caused a problem on your driving test. So there isn't a reason to panic because you're in the wrong lane. Let's say nowadays, okay, we use SatNav. SatNav, it takes commonplace, okay, with our driving and within your driving lessons, because you will be using, if you haven't already done so, you will find that you will be using SatNav on your driving lessons. So it's something that you will get to know and you'll get familiar with. Or even if somebody's giving you directions, it doesn't make any difference. The key thing here, okay, is you need to plan. All right, you still need to look at your road signs, you still need to look at your road markings. SatNav gets it wrong. It's not 100% accurate, so it is there as a guide, okay, to help you get from A to B and show you the way. But you still need to look at road signs and look at road markings. SatNav might be telling you to take the road ahead at the next roundabout or to turn right. But generally SatNav is not going to tell you, okay, what lane you need to be in to obviously take that direction. That's up to you, the driver. So you need to look at your road markings, you need to look at your road signs and plan for that and get into that lane nice and early. The great thing about SatNav is if by chance, okay, or by mistake, you've taken the wrong turning, SatNav will redirect you. and normally will give you an alternative route to get yourself back on track. So yeah, you can just then follow that, or if not, just find a safe place to turn yourself around. Might be that there's a roundabout coming further up the road, so you can use that roundabout to go around and come back in the direction you came from to sort it all out. And you know, as long as you're dealing with that safely, it's really not going to cause you a problem. Motorways, multi-lanes on motorways is the same thing. Okay, obviously we have 2-lane motorways. Most motorways are 3-lane. You can get down into sort of around the big cities, then obviously we can get motorways that have more lanes, you know, 4, 5, 6. So again, but the same rules apply. It doesn't matter how many lanes you have. You know, we should be sticking to the left-hand lane and using the other lanes for overtaking, and making sure we're planning those lane changes when we do in really good time. Reading the road signs, reading road markings. So on motorways you quite often get overhead gantries as well, showing you what lane you need to be in for certain things, and also giving you directions or information about what's going on ahead, speed restrictions, etc, etc. So you know, we do need to be vigilant when we're driving, alright? And as long as we are reading our road signs and we are reading our road markings, then planning your position, planning your lanes should not be that difficult. Just remember that basic rule of thumb. Left-hand position or left-hand lane for turning left, left-hand position, left-hand lane for taking the road ahead, right-hand position or left to centre, right-hand lane for turning right, unless road markings are telling you otherwise. So, you know, yes, I don't want to get really complicated with all this. If you go to Driving Essential Skills and you turn to page 155, it talks to you in there about lane discipline. The opposite page about good road positioning. So there's a great picture there on page 157 where we've got the 3 lanes: left-hand lane for left, middle lane for road ahead, right-hand lane for turning right. So again, it can, you know, we never know where it's going to be, but again, generally it's all nice and clear. So Driving Essential Skills, page 154, 155, that area is going to be good. Alright, also your highway code, obviously if we go to page 62, 63, it tells you about positioning for dealing with crossroads and all the different pieces on that. And over on page 64, it's got the diagram for the roundabouts, positioning for your roundabouts, a little bit like I've drawn, on this one here. So obviously it gives you help, with your lane positioning there. And over the page on page 66, talks to you a little bit about mini roundabouts and positioning and stuff on mini roundabouts. So again, you know, as long as we start to get those basic rules, and learn and remember those basic rules about positioning and lane discipline, then we are going to start to plan our drive and be in the right place at the right time a lot better on. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it at there for tonight. I mean, obviously, I don't want to overcomplicate this for you guys. Just going to set you, a couple of questions for next week. Sorry, I was just reading my questions, beg your pardon. Okay, so good question here to ask you, which not really covered, but again, if you go into Driving Essential Skills, it will talk about it. What is a smart motorway? Driving Essential Skills talks about a smart motorway. So what is a smart motorway? If you're driving on a motorway and you look at the signs on the overhead gantry and you see a red cross, on that lane, on the overhead gantry on the signs, what do you need to do, if you see a red cross for your lane on the overhead gantry? Alright, and if there is no road markings, you come to a crossroads which has got 2 lanes on approach, but there is no road markings, there is no road signs, and you wanting to take the road ahead, what lane would you use, okay, to take the road ahead at that crossroads? Okay, so hopefully, okay, that's been of some help again tonight. I'll run through the answers, okay, on that on next week's session. Hope we continue enjoying some of this good weather, and I will see you next week on the next workshop. Thanks a lot.